The birth rate throughout the 1970s traversed from a rate of 18.4 to 15.9 and ended up dropping, as seen with the beginning number starting at 3,731,386 and ending up with 3,494,398. One of the reasons for the dramatic decrease in births from 1970 to 1973 was because of the ever-growing theme of feminism. More and more contraceptives emerged following the baby boom ending in 1964, and abortion even became legal in 1973. Another factor in the decrease of this birth rate was because of the economic setting in the 70s. It was tough to raise a child in the setting throughout this time, and this led to a sharp decrease in births. The life expectancy throughout the 1970s was steadily increasing through every year. It always went up and never faltered by going down. At the beginning of the 1970, the life expectancy was 70.8 years old. At the end of the 1970s, in 1979, the life expectancy was 73.9 years old. Though it was a mere increase, it still rose, which meant that the Americans living in this age were getting healthier and environmental conditions were improving. The biggest spike in life expectancy was 1973 through 1975. The expectancy raised by an entire year and 1/5, or 1.2 years. Teen pregnancy rose during the 1970s, with abortion being legalized and the theme of feminism increasing. More teens were able to get pregnant without such harsh backlashes from society or even anyone. For females aged 12 to 14, pregnancy rates increased even higher. Out of 1,000 women surveyed in the 1970s, 37% of them had unplanned pregnancies. Women began feeling more empowered and lived risk-free. They believed they were in control of their bodies, that they had the final say whether they should stay pregnant or not. Women would go and get pregnant, and with feminism rolling in, it increased ever more throughout the 1970s. After abortion was legalized in 1973, the amount of women that received them incredibly skyrocketed. A high of this amount of women receiving them was over 100 abortions per 1,000 women. At the beginning of the 1970s, in 1970, the number of abortions by the end of the year was 193,491. At the end of the 1970s, in 1979, the number of abortions hit a peak of 1,497,670. That's a 130,417% increase than what it had been in the beginning of the decade. The abortion rate was a steady skyrocket throughout the 1970s, and the decade ended with the rate per 1,000 births being 428.6. Many medical discoveries were encountered in the 1970s. Some include the first vaccine for rubella, chickenpox, pneumonia, and meningitis. The world's first test tube baby was born, as well, in 1970, and in the UK. Rubella is a disease which causes malformation in pregnancies as well as measles. Maurice Hilleman created the vaccine while he was treating his daughter with rubella. He collected a strain of it from her and was able to successfully create a vaccine. Hilleman won several awards not only for this, but for his other works in the field of medicine. He is accounted for saving thousands of lives due to his vaccines. A vaccine for chickenpox was also released in the 1970s. Hilleman created it as well. Chickenpox is an infectious disease which usually occurs in childhood. It lasts for 7 to 10 days and is considered non-infectious after the lesions have crusted over. Some symptoms are blister-like lesions and mild headaches and fevers. Before the vaccine, over 4 million people were infected, 10,000 were hospitalized, and over 100 died. After the creation of the vaccination, hospitalization and death rates dropped exponentially. For his accomplishments and success at creating vaccinations, especially for chickenpox and rubella, Hilleman was awarded 3 prestigious awards, one including the National Medal of Science for Biological Sciences. The newest medical discovery, in 1978 to be exact, was the first successful test tube baby being born. It captured the eye of media and shocked the world as a new, odd way to deliver a baby. The test tube babies are born using IVF, which is in vitro fertilization. Using IVF, approximately 1% of all births in the United States of America are conducted. Through natural conceptions, the baby is formed inside the fetus of the mother. Using in vitro fertilization, the baby is taken out of the uterus and is formed outside of the fetus in a lab. Post-it notes were created and brought to life in 1973 by accident, actually. People wanted to create an adhesive that stuck to walls and bulletin boards, especially without the mess of super sticky and messy tapes or tacks. Arthur Fry is the official inventor of Post-it notes, and the idea came to him while looking at a hymnal in church. He wanted a way to hold on pages with a light adhesive without ending up ripping them. Fry decided to put a small piece of paper on the adhesive in order to be able to stick it onto anything. With the Magnavox Odyssey becoming the first ever video game console to be released in 1972, the Atari came in second a little after. It had a worldwide success with Pong, and with it, the public began to take more interest in the game industry. Originally, the Atari was simply called the Atari VCS, which stands for Video Computer System. With the idea behind the creation of it, the Atari would have games pre-installed into it. However, the idea was dropped in exchange for the idea that video game cartridges could be purchased externally and would have to be manually inputted. This was a success, and with the start of the Atari, a new row of video game consoles have arisen, such as the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Possibly one of the biggest technological advances in the 1970s was the creation of Apple Computer and the release of Apple II. In 1975, Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple, attended the first meeting of the Homebrew Computer Club. This club was led by Gordon French and Fred Moore. They wanted to make the club so the world's smartest people in computer sciences could make them smaller and more accessible to people at home. At the time, computers were very large, noisy, and cumbersome. Not many people wanted them inside their homes due to their size and the noise, as well as price. At the club, Wozniak was inspired to make one of his own, and did so successfully. It was called the Apple I, and launched a new modern in-home appliances and how people saw computers. Barcodes are now used every day, and are almost in every store and shop worldwide. Before their invention, stores would have to log inventory manually every time someone checked out food. Lines were much, much longer, and stores could only check their inventory about once a month, since the job was too cumbersome. The creation of barcodes began when Bernard Silver overheard the president of a fast food chain pleading with one of the deans to create an automated process in which the products would be logged immediately. He and a friend got to the job of making this and were successful. In 1974, the first barcode was used to log a pack of chewing gum. Though headphones were invented in 1910, the first portable ones, where people could easily carry around with them, were invented in 1979. The ones before this were incredibly heavy, and they were designed to be used only in homes. They could not be carried around in pockets, and were very, very heavy. The new ones were small and could fit into a pocket, while the headset remained outside, only tethered together by a very slim covered wire. Co-founder of Sony, Masaru Ibuka, asked his company for a more portable cassette player than its existing one. Norio Oga was tasked to make the new design, and he invented the Walkman in 1979. The MRI, or magnetic resonance imaging, was discovered by Raymond Damadian to be useful for medical diagnosis in 1970. It was used to spot neurological and musculoskeletal conditions in the human body. Damadian found that the cancerous tissues emitted response signals much longer than non-cancerous tissues using the MRI. Damadian also saw that the cancerous tumors contained more water than that of healthy tissue. He then issued the first MRI patent to the U.S. Patent Office, which was given a yes to in 1974. The first MRI to work on a human successfully was in 1977. Ray Tomlinson invented the email in 1971. He was tasked to figure out something interesting with ARPANET, which was the baby brother of today's internet. He really didn't like how some of his coworkers wouldn't answer the phone, so decided to make a messaging system between computers that would stay on the screen until they opened it. He eventually found a way to do this, and with the invention of the email, Tomlinson created a way for billions of people to connect, even from their homes. McDonald's very famous Happy Meal was invented in 1977. Dick Brams was just another regional advertising manager with a great idea. He proposed a meal just for kids, and 2 years later, in 1979, McDonald's released its first U.S. Happy Meal. It was circle wagon themed and came with the options of a cheeseburger, hamburger, french fries, cookies, and a toy. The toys were brought attraction to the Happy Meals, and they were an instant hit. When Disney joined up with McDonald's to create new toys, the characters such as Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, and Minnie Mouse were included. Before this, McDonald's had their own stencils, wallets, bracelets, puzzle locks, or erasers included with every meal. The hacky sack, invented in 1972 by John Stauberger and Mike Marshall, was designed to help Marshall recover from a knee surgery. It helped to exercise his knees, and the two decided to work together and market the hacky sack, originally called Hack in the Sack. The sack was originally consisted of a small sock stuffed with dry corn and tied on top. Nowadays, it consists of ultra suede and various types of animal skins, such as kangaroo and water buffalo. People can be seen using hacky sacks everywhere, from outside to inside the homes or to backyards. Many people like to hit the hacky sack as many times as they can without it falling down on the ground.